Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my Tour Expo, July 21st, 2025. And thank you for joining us tonight. We're talking about my tours to Spain and Portugal. And I have some special guests on. Terry Hanna's joining us to talk about our tours to Portugal. She was on a recent tour. And then we have Jim and Valerie Koonsmans as well. They're here and they've been on many tours, but we're going to talk tonight about your Spain experience. Jim and Valerie, welcome. You guys doing okay? Just checking out the
Doing well,
audio?
thank you.
Yeah. And Terry, how you doing? Good to see you. Perfect. I can't hear you. There you go.
Hi.
Just want to make sure everything's good. Okay. Thank you guys all for joining us online. We've got, I don't know, 50 or so people, I think, tuned in watching us here. And you guys, so thanks so much for joining us. And I've spent all afternoon preparing this. And like Jim, like you sent your email this morning and said you went through looking at 2,000 pictures. It seems like every morning and well, like 6 hours a day, I'm doing that, getting prepared for these episodes each night. But it's a great way to brush up on our tours. So tonight we're going to start out with talking about our tours to Portugal and do that for 20 or 30 minutes and then go into the tours about my tours about Spain. But before I get to that, let me tell you a little bit about some of the specials that we're running tonight and all this week. These specials are all available through the 15th of August. So for just a little bit more or a little bit less than a month from now. But we have all our 2026 tours online. We have 29 tour itineraries with about 55 different departure dates or a little bit more than those throughout the year, next year, 2026, beginning in April and running all the way through December. We'd love to have you join us on any of those tours. And what we're doing to give an added little extra bonus for you guys watching this is $100 off any tour that you register for and pay your deposit for 2026. You can do that at davidmcguffin.com and you pay a $400 deposit. And then immediately we will take off the $100 discount on your invoice straight away. So that's a great option for you guys to do. If you're thinking about getting ahead of the game and getting ready to sign up for some tours for 2026. We've had a pretty good response the last week, as we did 4 nights last week and 4 nights this week of our Tour Expo. A pretty good response of people joining and also signing up for tours for next year. In addition to that, we've got a few tours left, September through December of this year, and some spots available on all of those tours. Again, these discounts of $300 off those tours coming up this year are available through the 15th in August. And let me just run through them real quickly. We have the Best of Ireland tours starting pretty soon, about a month from now, August 16th, and a Taste of Ireland tour, August 19th. So that's coming up in the month of August, but that's a great time to travel in Ireland. I think you'll just have a great time being a part of that. I'm going to be leading the Taste of Ireland tour. I just decided that in the last couple of days. So please think about it. If you've not been to Ireland, think about joining us. Galway up to Dublin. Also, the Best of Scotland and Wales tour is on as well. My friend Dave Gray is the tour guide on that. That begins the 23rd of September. We have the Best of Sicily tour beginning in late September, September 30th, and the first week in October. I'm leading that too for the first time since COVID. So we're finally getting back down to the island south of the peninsula of Italy. Love to have you join us on that tour as well. And then our staple tours from Italy, our Essence of Italy tour and our Best of Italy tour, going from Rome to Florence and Rome to Milan. We'd love to have you join on those in October of this coming year. And finally, in December or the first weeks of November, or the first week of December and the last weeks of November, we have plenty of Christmas market tours, and we're offering 2 of them this year. Christmas markets in Central Europe, going from Munich to Nuremberg over to Prague. Vienna, and Budapest. And then we also have Christmas markets in Germany and Austria, ending in Munich, and kind of doing a circle, counterclockwise circle, hitting all those famous places like Neuschwanstein and Rotenburg on the Tauber, and Nuremberg and Munich as well. Also, gosh, I feel like I'm a constant commercial here. Also, make sure that since you're watching this, with your entry and your entry and your registration and participation in watching these tour expos, you are entitled to sign up and win a free trip to Tuscany next year in May and September of next year, the days we're doing it, for 2 people for our Tuscan Villa Vacation Tour. I'm kind of stalling on that because I want to give you a time to either screenshot it, take a photo, or look at that QR code. That takes you to the registration page so you can register for the next few nights, next 3 nights, 4 nights, next 3 nights of our tour expo and be entered to win. So each of them, we have 8 possible entries if you're watching 8 possible tour expos that we're doing during the last couple of weeks. I hope that makes a lot of sense. And then finally, this is a new slide I've included. And some folks have already responded today by social media, but I need some comments and even snide remarks or accolades for your experience if you've traveled with me on any tour in the 25 years that I've been doing David McGuffin's Exploring Europe. And just take a screenshot of this too, if you want to. But I'd like you to think about what's your most memorable moment. What did you do on tour that you can't do at home? I often say, hey, I can't do that in Middleburg when that's where I live, by the way. I can't do that in Middleburg when I'm looking at the Eiffel Tower that's twinkling in front of me or something. You can submit those just short little recordings by way of text with FaceTime, video and audio, video and audio would be great. There's my text number there. Also WhatsApp, you could do an audio with that and just snap a picture of you. My number's there. And then Facebook and Instagram are down there as well. And just as an added extra bonus, we'll give you another entry into the drawing for that little snippet you give for your experience with McGuffin Tour. By the way, that photo right below there is Claudia Del Duca, my friend who owns the Marcampo Villa that we go to all of the time. And this is the dinner that we have, cooking class that we have, and dinner that we have there at their home and at the villa. So I hope everybody's got that. If not, I think it was put out on Facebook and Instagram today as well. Or if you don't get all that information, text me, email me, and we'll be good to go on that. So without further ado, let's jump into tonight's topic, which is exploring Spain and Portugal. And tonight, starting off, we're going to talk about our tours to Portugal. Portugal is an underrated destination as far as David McGuffin Exploring Europe goes, but it also is a major, major destination for Americans because it's a hot spot where people all want to go. I think what has happened as the country of Portugal has bumped up their advertisement and advertising budget here in the United States, and they are offering some very good incentives for those who would like to pick up their roots and move to Portugal and buy a house and retire. Incentives like getting a passport from Portugal and being able to travel the EU without any restrictions and those kind of things. So it is very, very popular. Hence, we have 5 or 6 different departures each year. And we had one just in May of this year that Terry was on. And so she's going to kind of chime in with me on this once I get through the first couple of slides and talk about our tour itinerary in Portugal from Lisbon up to Porto. So what we have is a map here, as you can see. That's the Atlantic Ocean on the left-hand side and down below. And so it's on the very, very far western side of the Iberian Peninsula. To the east of that or to the right of that is the whole peninsula of Spain, or the whole country of Spain, taking up the rest of that peninsula. So we began with 3 days in Lisbon because I think Lisbon is a great city, number one, to get in because it's direct flights to the United States. And also it gives you a chance to experience the biggest capital city there as well. Lisbon is broken into 3 different areas. This area called the Amalfa is up on the hill. The other area, Barrio Alto, is up on a hill. And the Baixa, which is down below, is in the valley below. Let me click on this video real quick. So this is looking at the river, the Taos River in the Baixa region, and spinning around looking from the river right up that ravine, that valley that splits the city in half. And as I just mentioned, Lisbon has 3 different areas. The Alfama, which is the old medieval town up on the hill. If you're looking from the river on the right-hand side, streetcars going up, small alleys, and a huge castle, the Castle of St. George's Castle up there. I think I've got just a streetcar coming down because they run all over the place. Terry, did you get to do one of those streetcars while you were there?
No, we were hoofing it.
You were hoofing it. I remember you and I and the rest of the group walked all the way up that hill for me to take that video, right? From the
It-
city.
yeah,
We had a local guide. What'd you think about Lisbon?
I loved Lisbon. Specifically, as you can see under St. George Castle, the tile work is just stunning. When you had graded the walk in terms of, mild, moderate, strenuous, I think you
Yeah,
labeled Lisbon as strenuous, and you nailed it.
yeah, I nailed it. Okay, because going up the middle and the Baishai is okay, but if you go up either of those hills, you gotta if you're walking, it's quite a hike up there. Luckily,
It
there
is.
are the streetcars and some lifts that go from one direction to the other, but that's right. The Barrio Alto is this other area, like I sent you on the left-hand side. It is, as I've written here, on the east, the high town, quaint lanes, steep hills, trendy bars, food galore, fado, and sweeping vistas of everywhere. And so we went up there and we participated in a dinner, but was that the Fado dinner was the second night of your tour, right, Terry?
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, right. And I'm gonna actually have a little sample of that in a few minutes. But the first evening we did kind of a walk of the Bache and also the other area, the Alfama as well. So it's kind of crazy to do all that on one night, but you were a bit jet lagged, and then we went to dinner as well. But that's a great way to experience the city. The lower town I mentioned is the Baixay, and I'm trying to get my slides going in the right direction. And here's a sample here of that Baixay area. That's one of the main squares down there in town called Rocio. And then we were able to come up with our bus way, way up the hill at this park, looking straight down through the Baixa, looking down to the river. And we had this great view across the fork with this Lisbon sign there and everything, and got to have a panoramic view of the whole city. Now, I'm going to get to the dining, the wining and dining in a minute, Terry. But what did you enjoy most about the time we were there in Lisbon?
the city center was stunning, really, too. It's more upscale than I thought it would be. And that was a lot of fun to just walk around. And I should preface it by saying we were on a private tour with you, David. 13 of us I'm from a family of 7 girls, and we dragged our husbands with us. Unfortunately, Alan's not here right now. But
He's
nonetheless,
still
so
worn
we
out from the tour.
the shopping was fun, and mingling with the downtown central area was neat. Um, the photo performance, which I know you're going to talk about, David, was so cultural,
Great.
and
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Right. Well, so it was a true pleasure to travel with your 6 sisters, 7 sisters. How many? How many sisters? Oh, maybe she can't hear me. I think it's 7 sisters.
7 girls in total.
That's right. 7 girls in total. I think I'm back on. I hope everybody can hear me. We had a thunderstorm only about 30 minutes ago, and it knocked the power out, and hallelujah, came back on. But we got a weak signal here, so I think everything's back on. Jim, y'all can hear me too. Yep, good. All right. So, Terry, on our trip, we had a side trip to Sintra and also to Belém. So let me tell you about Belém for a minute. Oh, we're in Lisbon. We're on the River here, and in the little neighborhood called Table, in the neighborhood called Belém on the river here. We're looking out to the Atlantic Ocean. And this tower behind me is called the Belém Tower. It's built in around 1520 or so. And it was the last point of refuge and prayer for sailors going off to explore the rest of the world here. So from Belém, your picture starts right here with David McGuffin exploring here. And on that river also is this monument of the discoveries. And if you recall, this was a jumping off point. Portugal was a great sea power and on about half the world back in the day. And so it sent out many explorers, but Portugal claimed the world and the seas from basically a line down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which included part of South America, Brazil, stretching all the way over to the around the Horn of Africa and into Asia as well. And Spain claimed the land to the west of that line going down the middle of the Atlantic. So 2 great seafaring powers, but Portugal was crazy, like Vasco da Gama, Amerigo Vespucci, even Christopher Columbus all sailed from the region here to go explore back in the 15th century. This is a huge church right there in the same area of the town called Belém, called the Hieronymus Monastery. It's built in the late 1400s, early 1500s in a style called Manuelan, Gothic style, after King Manuel of Portugal at the time. Terry, did you get over to try those pastries? The Belém
Oh,
pastries?
yes.
Tell us
Yeah.
about that. Why would people like to go experience that?
Belém was known for this one bakery that had, I forget how do you say it, pasties de nata or something like
Right,
that.
right. Yep.
It was a small bite-size custard-filled pastry. And oh my gosh, it's like Americans eating donuts. The Portuguese eat these pastries. And that little shop on our left right there, you can see the people lining up. You could buy them in cartons of 12 and just walk around popping them in your mouth. So it was delicious. And I would love to find some place in the States that served that type of dessert.
Right. Like you mentioned, they're available all over Portugal, but like you said, they're called de nata, pastel de nata, except in Belém, and they're called Belém pastries. I think I got one, and I snuck in the back door over there on the corner because that huge line was there. But I walked in and like I was going to buy a drink and bought three of them and walked out before anybody got in there. And here I am sitting down on the back alleyway eating. Wait counter at the pastel shop Ballet. And these little egg custard pastries are supposedly the best there are. Around the rest of the country, it's called pastel de nata. But here, that's made in the town of Ballet. It's called pastel Ballet. Let's see what it tastes like.
So good.
It is sweet and tasty and crunchy. Got all kind of textures. That is really good. €1.80, I think is what they cost. Well worth it. Right here outside of Lisbon in the Belém district, right on the river. Your adventure starts right here with David McGovern's Exploring Europe. I guess I really like that.
They're good.
We also took a whole day to go outside of Lisbon, about an hour outside to Sintra, which is I wrote up on top, an aristocratic royal escape town. So the nobility, the royalty, and those who had money got tired of living in Lisbon, especially because there was several earthquakes and it was becoming unstable. So they left town and went out and built these palaces and villas outside of town or outside of Lisbon in this little place called Sintra. And what do you think, Terry? What was the draw to go there? I mean, it was your first experience outside of Lisbon, but what did you do in Sintra?
Well, we went to the palace in Sintra, which was, again, overwhelming. You could see the ornateness on the ceilings. You can see the tiles just on the walls. Everywhere you looked, there was just opulence. Really, it was beautiful. But I think there were three castles there, weren't there? Or was that a different town?
At least, yes.
Yeah.
So that
and
on
then
the
you could
right-hand side, I don't know if you can see it, but there's two up on those other hills.
Yep. And you could just walk around the town and get lost. And so I think as a group, we stayed together in the National Palace. Oops, there's the girls.
Yeah, there you go.
And there were 13 of us, but nonetheless. And then we could kind of split off on our own and go get lunch or whatever. It was just a really easy town to explore and buy things, and we just had a ball.
Earlier in the year, Charlotte and I were there as well, and we went out and spent a whole day, and it basically took us the whole day to get up to this other palace called Pena Palace, which was up above Sintra on that hill. It does take some doing and some work and some planning, and it was just too much to do with that many people in the group. But the palace, the National Palace, is the draw right in the city center of Sintra as well. From there, we went out to the westernmost point of Europe. I put a question mark there because we hear there's some people in Spain that say that. And also, one of my favorite places is the west coast of Ireland on County Kerry. The Dingle Peninsula is also maybe the westernmost. Up in here, Cabo da Roca, the westernmost point of Europe, continental Europe, here in Portugal. Atlantic Ocean here. I'm told that directly west is Delaware. We'll see. A wonderful day here on the Atlantic Ocean and in Portugal. Hey, your adventure starts right here with David McGovern, 640 Europe. Hey Terry, was this your first David McGuffin tour, or had you done something else?
No, right before COVID, Alan and I joined you in the Tuscan tour. We didn't do Rome, but I had heard you say on a previous webinar that some of your tours are hop on, hop off, and you were very gracious on that Tuscan tour, and we hopped on in Florence and hopped off in Pisa, and so it was fun. We got your expertise in the heart of Tuscany, and then we went to Cinque Terre on our own.
Right. So then you know all about the Tuscan Villa experience because you were a part of that, right?
Right. And I can't wait
Yeah.
to win it. I'll win it again and go again.
Okay, you're entering every night, right? Good for you. Okay, after 3 days in Lisbon and those day trips, we head to the north and we go to up there. Just it's not too far as the crow flies, only little less than 100 miles. But we visit two different towns, Nazaré and Fatima. And along the way, we some of my friends in Portugal said, "Hey, David, check this place out." So we were there in April. We did, and we thought it'd be a good experience to go and make some special type of bread. Tell us about that, Terry, while I go through these little slides.
Sure. This gentleman, Jose Franco, built this miniature town. Really, it was fascinating. He had a vision of entertaining children and doing it in an educational way. And David had arranged for our group to make chorizo bread while we were there, and we got to eat warm bread afterward. And it was just, I think we were in Mafra, right? And
Right, Mafra.
it was pretty cool that Mr. Franco had all this pottery, and I think it attracted a number of artists in the area.
So that's you guys making the chorizo bread from scratch. And I didn't have a photo of the finished product, but
Because we ate it.
yeah, it was all gone. And this guy, Jose Franco, he was a pretty cool character, an eccentric artist, and turned his home into a little village. So we made a stop there, and I think it was a very worthwhile stop. From there, we left and went to Nazaré. It's a seaside a cliff-top village, and the old town sits up above the sea because back in the day, um, the higher the better as far as refuge goes from the pirates and everybody that's coming to invade your cities. So this little town was kind of ramshackled up at the top, but it had a wonderful cathedral and church. So we were only there maybe 45 minutes. But the important thing was that we got to walk around and then see this wonderful view of the historic resort town down below. And then we got back on our bus and went down below, right on the beach, and it actually is a fishing village down there, and those are the boats that fishermen go out in. Now, these are real boats, but they are not used every day because the port now, modern port, is down further about a mile to the left. But these are replicas or actual boats that were used back in the day. Back in the day, I'm only talking about 20 years ago before the new port was built. And these racks are out there on the beach, and people are drying fish, salting them, and you could buy them and take them away. They're as thick as a board, and take them away, and then you reconstitute them with water, and when you're ready to cook them, and they cook up just like real fish. So that's the way the Portuguese like their fish, whether it be these small little fish or the cod caught from the North Atlantic. We also happened to see this, I write, an impromptu cultural experience because we run into that often as we travel through Europe, but we had no idea this was happening. Tell us a little bit about that, Terry. Y'all stood there and watched most of the procession, right?
Yeah, we did. I think it was a procession for the fishermen. I didn't know if it was for the Virgin Mary or whatever, but it had the
Yeah.
most phenomenal, I don't know,
Uh,
procession of
yeah.
flowers. I mean, all those
Right.
flowers were gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I think the whole town came out dressed in their floral dresses and little drummer boys. And it was an amazing experience. We didn't expect that at all.
Right. And I'm guessing, but I see this Mary and child, Mary and Jesus there. And I think that was an icon that was the important icon in that church up on the top of the hill. But like you say, it was some sort of a procession, and the whole town was out to participate in it. From there, we went to another crazy place that is a pilgrimage site, and it was in Fatima. And Fatima, we got there, and let's see, I think we got there, in this huge complex is designed to give praise to God for a miracle that happened there in the early part of the 20th century, where three children, shepherd children, were out watching the fields, and Mary appeared to them in the clouds for many consecutive days. And so that happened on the 12th and 13th of May, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And it happened every month on the 12th and 13th through September, October. And so now pilgrims come to that city and flood that whole square on the 12th and 13th, 14th, 15th of the months from May through October, just to be a part of that. And for me, it was amazing that many people come and arrive there. There's a huge church to worship on both ends, one modern, built in the 1970s, and one older traditional church built, well, it's made to look older, but it's only 100 years old. And then there's this white strip of marble that goes from one church to the other, to this area where the shepherd children had seen the apparition of Mary. And pilgrims come and crawl on their knees, walk on their knees, and pray for, I don't know, what is it, 300 or 400 yards. Terry, what do you think about that whole thing?
Um, it was I think it was pretty cool because when you go to a town, you can see the castles and you can see the houses, but when they have an event like this going on, you can't plan it. I mean, we were there prior to May 13th, so I was just kind of blown away at how many very devout people come to Fatima, and they take a week off work, and you see them on the streets with safety green and safety, yeah, there you go,
There you go.
yellow. This is what they do. They walk on this pilgrimage in honor of the Virgin Mary. Anyway, the event in Fatima will be in my mind forever. But I was glad to leave.
Yes, right. Here, I just took it on the bus as we were driving out of town one day, and you can see they just come in hordes to be a part of this pilgrimage. And I think we were there one day before the recorded event, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yep.
a unique place to stay. We stayed there 2 nights, a very nice hotel, 4-star hotel, and it was a good central base for everything that we did. There's the hotel that we stayed in as well, right there in Fatima. And from there, we go over into the countryside, visiting Obidos and some other places in the countryside. We went into a olive oil producer, and this gentleman, his name is David as well, as like mine, and he spent a good hour and a half with us talking about how they select their olives, produce their olives, and prepare the extra virgin olive oil. And then we all got to sit down and taste several varieties of it as well. And from there, from there, we went and had a wonderful dinner. And I figured this would be a place to come in and talk about the culinary delights of being in Portugal, because it was varied, but it was heavily centered on seafood and fish, especially this salted cod. I think I'm talking about it. And tonight we are eating the famous dish of the Portuguese. There's 365 versions of salted cod, but this is called bacala arash. And it's kind of like a cod and potatoes and eggs all together. Let's see what it tastes like. Wow, that's really good. Your adventure starts right here with David Duff at 648. Yeah, so as I scroll through here, Terry, jump in and talk about what folks who would go to Portugal would expect as we participate in wining and dining and tasting all over the place. I'll just point out the one on the right-hand side is also in Lisbon, and this is a special dish as well that I got one of the free nights that we didn't have dinner together, and it was a rice, kind of a rice soup with very good tasting shrimp in it as well. So that's pretty cool, and I enjoyed that. This is in Sintra. Oh, I had this, Charlotte and I had this lunch. That was a pork knuckle as well in a cafe in town. We were a little tired of seafood already, so we got a salad and a pork knuckle along the way as well. And Fatima, we went to that restaurant there just down from the shrine, and we had another version of that rice stew with shrimp, and we had kind of like a creme brulee for dessert, and then we had a mixture of olives, and the second dish you see there on the right-hand side is black-eyed peas, cucumbers, and onions with some kind of vinaigrette. That is something I've never had before and the best ever. So if anybody knows that kind of recipe, get it, because that guy, I went in April and he remembered me when I came back in May and made me a special little dish of it just for that. So that's good. Terry, what do you think about the dining experiences that we had?
That one restaurant that we went to for Mother's Day lunch was spectacular. I think it was in a regional park, Terra Cha or whatever,
Yeah.
but it was so good. I think what was most fascinating about the fact that cod was very prevalent in Portugal, and I think you may have told us this, David, is they don't catch cod there.
Right,
Is that
they
true?
don't.
And so it's imported, but it was delicious. It was light, flaky white fish in everything, in rice, in potatoes by itself. And you know, a number of my sisters don't eat meat, so it was perfect. But I think we had the best pork ever at that Terra Cha luncheon that we had for Mother's Day. And
Yeah,
so,
this is at Terra Cha around the corner from where we ate, looking out onto the mountains. It's also that breadboard that we had to start with, and I think I have maybe this is the dish that we had, the pork that we had, dessert, and the patio. Uh, do you agree that that was one of the best meals we had on the tour?
I do agree.
And
Stunning.
we're gonna go back there all the time.
Yeah,
It's
I
going to
would.
be a staple of my tour because, like you said, it's a welcome change from the fish that we'd had the last couple of days for sure.
Right.
Right. And then that outdoor patio, I didn't get a picture of that of all you guys on that fake horse out there,
That
but
goat, the
yeah,
goat.
the goat, that's out there as well. And speaking of wining and dining, we went to a winery up in Porto. Tell us about your experience there and what folks would expect when they go up to the Douro River Valley, not Porto, the Douro River Valley.
Right. I lived in San Francisco for 20 years and I associate the Douro River Valley with Napa Valley. And yes, port is a big staple in northern Portugal, but these vintners really take their business seriously. It is beautiful out there. You feel like you're nowhere near a city. And I could have stayed in Douro Valley a little bit longer. I think we were there for one night, David.
Yeah.
But it was very peaceful. I learned to like the tawny port. There's two different types of port,
Mhm.
and the education was spectacular. And this family run winery that you chose it was just off the charts.
Right. Yeah. And and like you just mentioned, we often think of the only kind of wine that they have there is port, the fortified wine that's been aged, but they have wine just like everywhere else in the world, Napa Valley and everywhere else. That is fantastic. White, rosé, red wines that are fantastic. And they're just not aged like the port is with the and fortified. Just some more scenes from that winery experience there in the Douro River Valley. Um, Charlotte and I, we were there in April, and this is in Porto, in the town of Porto, and we happened upon a place right below the cathedral that had these conch fritters, or I guess no, they weren't conch. Guess what they were? Cod,
Odd.
cod fritters, right? Cod fritters. But they also had this antipasti board as well. So you can imagine, instead of climbing up the hill, we sat at the cafe and wined and dined for a few hours that afternoon. And also in Porto, that is where they actually take the wine, put it in barrels, and fortify it with alcohol and age it. And we visited this Sandman's uh, port warehouse, I guess it was. How did that compare, Terry, the Sandman compared to the Douro River winery?
Um, I think it was equally as good, but you could tell it was a bigger, probably more corporate winery. In fact, one of my sisters got back home and found the Sandeman bottle at a bar. I think you could probably find that at Beverages or More.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, I haven't looked, but nonetheless, it was still the pride in production, and the quality was amazing. I just think it was nice to show a smaller vineyard compared to a larger one.
right, exactly. And this was the final wine and dining experience we had for you guys in Porto, way up on the hill, overlooking the harbor and the river and everything else. Uh, Tell them about that dinner experience, which I'm going to keep as well.
With what?
Yeah, this dinner experience, the last dinner we
Yeah.
did in Porto.
You
Yeah,
know, it was steak, and thank you for that.
yeah,
Ended up giving half of my steak to my brother-in-law because it was so much. But I felt like we were waited on hand and foot in this lovely dining area. It was a nice send-off for everyone who was either departing from Porto or going back to Lisbon to depart the next day. So it was, Porto was cool. It's got a beautiful river, and we'd had a nice boat ride prior to that. So we were all very relaxed, and it was a very elegant finale.
great. Yeah, I agree. I happened upon this place, and it was relatively new, and my friends who helped me set up this in Portugal said you should go here, and I'm glad we did because it would, like you see, is very elegant, five-star service, and that's the dining room. That's it. There's no more people in there, and we had the whole thing to ourselves for most of the evening. Um, I'm going to skip and move quickly now because that was the wining and dining portion. But we also went to the countryside into this place called Óbidos. And Óbidos is a small, quaint, walled hill town. I was there in April. I was also there with Terry and her family in May. Totally different experiences. The experience in May with your family, Terry, was that everything was hugely crowded with tourists, right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and you only have one street up to this castle. It's a beautiful castle, a beautiful little town, and one street down. And I guess it's the luck of the draw when you show up, but it's got plenty of places to shop. Um, Definitely buy cans of sardines because that's a big popular staple as well. All the wine you want, all the port you want, all the souvenirs you want. So definitely a tourist town, But even that day that it was very, very crowded, I got up on these walls on the right-hand side and walked those walls, and there was about 10 people I saw the whole time. So
Right.
Oviedo is a great town. And from there, we visited this monastery just for an hour or two called Batala. And we were there just for the morning and went inside and experienced just that another wonderful cathedral. And then our local guide said, David, why don't we do these two things? They're not only our itinerary, but let's go up to the Costa Nova and see this seaside and these little striped villages, little houses in the villages, and also go to Aveiro, which is a kind of Venice-esque city in Portugal with canals, canal boats, rivers, and everything else. What'd y'all do that day in Aveiro, Terry? What would be something good to? Once again, I was bumped off the internet. Apologies there. Hopefully people can get back on. I'll share that back again. Are we good? Everybody can see that? So we're in Aveiro. And then we went to the city of Coimbra, which is a hilltop town with an ancient university. And up there, I'm going quickly because we were there for a couple of nights, and that was one of the days that we went to Aveiro and to the seaside as well. And we enjoyed spending time there. Terry Allen and I got to have a nice dinner down by the riverside. But these towns were really cool because it's a university town. You can see the students on the right-hand side walking around in their academic regalia garb. That's not just something they do for graduation. It's something they wear every day of the school year. And then there's a cathedral on the left-hand side. And then I want to give you two examples of fado, the traditional Portuguese music. The first one coming from Coimbra. And this example from Lisbon. And you can see those are two distinct styles of fado, traditional Portuguese music, but they are all accompanied by a guitar and like a lute, Portuguese guitar as well. So those two experiences were varied as well because we had a dinner with the one in Lisbon. It lasted hours, right, Terry? Don't like it. Yeah, and the one here in Coimbra was just about 45 minutes. Great experiences. From there, we went to the Douro Valley. I've already talked to you a little bit about that, but the hillside vineyards falling into the Douro River. That's where we went to that wine tasting in the vineyards there. And our hotel is just here on the left-hand side. I kind of gave you us a 4-star hotel on the hill overlooking the city. There's a photo of our room there in that hotel. And those were characteristic of every hotel that we stayed in. Modern, newly built in the late 20th century. And the only one we had that was retrofitted into old buildings was in Coimbra, and that was unique as well. But we had a great time. Unique meaning historic and charming as well. Nothing, so it's all great. So all our hotels have private bathrooms. People ask that all the time. Do we have our own bathroom? But yes, everything's included in our hotel rooms. From there, we end our tour in Porto, And in Porto is a wonderful city situated on that River Douro with this huge bridge and the city reaching up to the top. Beyond that, here's a little video from the River Douro, looking at one of the many bridges that cross that. And Terry, you mentioned an example of mosaics. That's one of that church there in Porto, similar to what you were mentioning in Lisbon. But those mosaics are all mosaic tiles are all over the place. There's a huge cathedral, small narrow lanes. Porto is a hilly city as well, so you can really build your calf muscles up and thighs up pretty good with that. And with that said, that kind of ends our Porto and Portugal tour experience. To wrap it up, Terry, what did you enjoy? There was a lot we did see and experience. What was maybe some of your most memorable experiences?
I think the weather in May was perfect. I think we beat like you said, it's becoming an American destination. I think we beat the very, very touristy season in May. So that was a plus. I think the best thing I can say about traveling with you, David, is that you make it seamless. With a group of 13 of us, I mean, granted, we all knew each other and could go roll with the punches, right? But there was nothing really that we ever had to think about, nothing we had to do. You fed us. I think out of the 10-day tour, we had meals half the time, but the other half of the time, we were on our own and had a blast. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, thank you for participating. And to wrap it up, my outro is always this. I told you earlier that I often, everywhere I go, look up and say, wow, I can't do that at home. I can't do that here in Middleburg, Florida. What is something that you did in Portugal that you certainly can't do there at home?
I have a greater appreciation of very narrow roads that were tiled by very laborious Portuguese. That tile, I want to do my driveway that way. It is just lasting, and I probably won't ever concrete anything again. I will tile it.
Yeah, you got it. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on tonight. You're welcome to hang in there. I know you said you are going to, but
I'm just going to get off video.
Yeah, we're going to segue on to the best of Spain. And that tour is also a highly underrated tour with David McGuffin Exploring Europe, but really one of our best. I wish I could do it 3 or 4 times a year, but it really, I only end up getting to do it a couple of times a year, or maybe not even a couple, 1 time a year. And because everybody's not aware of it. So think about going to Spain with us as Valerie, Jim, and I take you on a McGuffin journey through Spain, 13 days. We begin in Barcelona. We are there for 2 days. Notice Barcelona is to the north on the Mediterranean, and it's in an area called Catalonia. And Jim and Valerie, I know you guys really enjoyed this, and this is the old historic quarter, the Barrio Gothic quarter. What do you recall, and what should people see here in this part of Barcelona?
Well, that was the old town, and our hotel was right off the square. So we were right where the action was, but there were lots of dancers and activity, and we were right in the hub of everything.
The markets were down there, and it was I guess a main drag between the port and the center city. So lots of cool stuff just to see and walk around and hear and listen.
Right. So that's the cathedral. You can see it's pretty massive, and we're going to go through several cathedrals as we traverse through Spain. But this one was pretty impressive as well. And that's just some images that I took there. This also was the main square in the Barrio Gothic, which is the old town, the old medieval town, and the building on the left-hand side is the government building for Catalonia, which is the province of Spain there. And then right across from that is the government building for Barcelona, the city hall. And then right behind it and below that are some ancient Roman ruins dating from the 1st century AD, and some columns down there that you can see are still intact, and they're reaching up 4 stories in the air. There was something similar to one of the temples that you would see in the Roman Forum right there in Madrid as well. In Barcelona as well. This is the La Rambla, and probably the most touristy part of Barcelona, and a part that I often encourage people to go look at, but don't tarry, because there's all kind of vendors of worthless crap along the way, and all kind of restaurants that are hawking for you to come in and charge you way too much for something you can get 4 blocks away that costs half the price. But you have to go down La Rambla, and as Jim mentioned, that goes from the main square, from the main city center, all the way down to the port and to the beach area. I didn't mention, I know Jim and Valerie, you guys went to the Picasso Museum and spoke very highly of it. So when Charlotte and I were there, whenever that was, later in the year, I guess it was last October, we went in there too. So I've been to many Picasso museums. What do you enjoy most about that museum there?
I was just astounded. I was kind of, this whole trip was like, well, I'm not so sure. And Jim said Picasso Museum, and I was like, oh, okay, we'll go. And I just loved it. I turned into a fan of his work just from the early days through the modern, and they had the whole spectrum. It was incredible, and I really went with very mixed feelings.
It was interesting. Just from the start, I believe his first portrait that was hung in there was done when he was 17 years old, and it was amazing. It was a classical style, and then you got into all the modernistic, the work by, let me see, the Maids of Honor, Velazquez, I think, that we saw later in the museum in Madrid. But
right,
50 some paintings of that, and I really liked the Blue Room. It was just amazing, and I'd never been to one. We also visited one in Paris. Unfortunately, that Picasso museum was somewhat shuttered for. They just had one exhibit room that mainly dealt with portraits of his daughters, but this was very expansive, and it was really a delight. Next to some of the other features of Barcelona, which I'm sure you're going to get into, but it was a surprise, and it was an absolute delight.
And you mentioned modernismo, which is we think of Antonio Gaudi, and these are some examples of the buildings along what's called the Block of Discord, basically stretching up from our hotel as well, about a mile, that has all of these modernistic style houses built in the early 20th century. And Antonio Gaudi is a wonderful architect who lived there in Barcelona. And he's also famous for this. He is probably most famous for us tourists for this cathedral that's in the works.
Hey, David McGuffin here in Barcelona, Spain at La Sada in Barcelona, Spain.
These are all unedited.
As you can see, the Antonio Gaudi Church. Gaudi took over this project in 1883, worked on it until 1926 at his death, and it's continued on. It's due to be totally completed by 2026, just in a couple of years from now. Right now, just to date this thing, we are in October of 2024. So I hope you enjoy looking around La Sagrada Familia and this wonderful example of modernista architectural style by Antonio Gaudi.
As I scroll through these photos, I know Jim and Valerie, we spent a lot of time in there, more time than I've spent with anybody, the museum and everything. Let me scroll through the photos and y'all talk a little bit about it.
Well, this is the reason I wanted to go to Barcelona. I didn't know much about Spain, never having been there, but I saw a 60 Minutes piece probably 7, 8 years ago about this place, and I said, I've got to go there. I've got to see this place. It was amazing, just simply amazing. The light varies depending on the time you go there. It's tons of stained glass. So the light, depending on what time of day it is and where you're standing, it's amazing. It's architecturally, you can hardly take it all in. The outside, there's statues all over the outside. The inside is naturally it's a cathedral, but it's a very, very interesting place to visit. It's unlike any cathedral, and we've been on several tours with David, and I think I've seen a number of cathedrals. But this is unlike any other that I've ever been to. So it was incredible.
The first time I went in there, probably 20 years ago, the area where you're standing here in the nave was totally open. When it rained, it would rain in here. So the work has evolved and is still evolving, and it's not funded by anyone except the donations of the admissions to go in there. And it is on track to be finished in the next couple of years. So let's go back and see it.
And we are planning to go back. We want to see it completed.
You got it.
And even on our spare time, we were so impressed, we went back through it again.
Yeah.
So.
That's pretty amazing. From Barcelona, we got on a fast train and we rode up to Madrid, which is in the center of the country and the capital of modern day Spain. There, I recall when you guys were with me, it was hot as heck. And as a matter of fact, some of the places were closed. It was so hot and shut down because of a heat wave. But we experienced, I should have got a picture of Francesco there. And because he was our guide, both in the Prado Museum and also in the Royal Palace. And that, by the way, this is the Puerta del Sol, one of the main squares in town. You didn't get to see these gardens because we couldn't go in there. Y'all remember that? We hiked up to the Retiro Park.
Yep.
And because we were seeking refuge from the heat.
Right.
And we got there and the gates were closed. That is crazy. But here's the Royal Palace. There's Jim and Valerie and Federico,
yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I will compliment you on, David, is your guides are always amazing and full of information and very friendly and conversant and speak the language well. So it's well done in that aspect every time, every tour.
Yeah, and for the most part, I know who they are, and they're my friends. We've been out drinking together or whatever. So, so that's great, especially there in Madrid. We also went to this market that was there too, the Mercato. My goodness, I can't remember the Mercato something. I can't remember, but it had all these hams. Iberico hams.
Everything hanging from the ceiling.
And anything else you wanted to get, you buy as little tapas, find a seat, sit down, buy a drink, and enjoy your time there. Mercato Santa Cruz, is that what it is? Somebody maybe knows. I can't remember. I've been to too many Mercatos, but that's it right there, right near the cathedral and the big square. Plaza Mayor. And we often go to flamenco in Madrid, but we also go to it also do flamenco down in Seville, which is what I think we did it with you guys, right?
We did.
That's
Yep.
correct.
Yeah, okay. So I have a video of that we'll talk about in a minute when we get to that. From Madrid, we just go to the north a little ways to El Escorial in Segovia. And we stopped by this place. I'd never been here. And Jim and Valerie were with them and said, let's go up the mountain here and see this place called I can't even remember who's somebody's seat, Arthur's seat or something. And
Yeah.
The King's Seat, yeah.
yeah, the king's seat. So it was made for the king to sit there and do like Jim is doing, look out on El Escorial. By the way, I two contrasting views. Jim and Valerie, we were there in 2022. That was kind of still recovering from COVID, and there was nobody there at this
Right.
assembly ground. This was last October. Look at all those kids around here.
I mean, there was nobody there. when we
Yeah,
were
a
there.
big difference. Yeah. And this is looking out the King's View out to El Escorial. And there I am, King of the Mountain, holding part of it up as well in the same spot. Funny times. El Escorial is a big palace built that the king built outside of Madrid. It's probably the short of the palace in Prague is the biggest palace complex in the world, or at least in Europe. Let's put it that way. El Escorial, beautiful right there. And then we go up to a little town, I say historic castle, Roman aqueduct, and a grand cathedral. That is a fantastic Roman aqueduct. You can even go to Rome and in Italy and can't see an aqueduct intact that much, but it's a really cool town. Nice little lanes, pedestrian friendly. Actually, there are no cars on the street, and with great palaces as well. What was your experience there, Jim and Valerie, being in Segovia? Anything? Do you remember that, or are we at?
You're breaking up on us, David, a little bit. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I see that. Can you hear me? No.
The aqueducts, yeah.
Segovia.
Amazing.
Yeah, Segovia, there you go. You see the cathedral there. We were, our hotel is right near there. That was one of the views from a plaza where a hotel was
Right.
located.
And we stopped for sangria right below the aqueduct.
Well, that's right. I remember that.
Yep.
That was beautiful. And then this experience, uh-oh, turn your head. I didn't know it went sideways.
At this restaurant here,
Who filmed that?
Jose Maria is famous for the suckling pig. And I've been eating with my fork and this knife. I've gone through a lot of the 1/6 of the suckling pig. And then the gentleman just came over here and gave me this knife. He says, I noticed you're left-handed. This is a knife for a left-handed person. So here it is, and it works so much better because it's made for a left-handed person. It's curved a little bit here. So here we go. Suckling pig and skin. Boy, that is tasty. Your adventure starts right here with David McGuffin's Exploring Journal.
You guys remember that because they brought
Right.
the whole
They
pig.
brought the whole pig.
Yeah. How'd you like it, Jim? Didn't you get the ear?
I think I did.
Yeah.
I don't want to know what part.
I didn't know quite what to do with it, but yeah,
Right.
we
But
soldiered on.
Yeah, it was very tasty though, and that's a specialty of the area for sure. Moving on, we just go a little bit south of Madrid to Toledo. Toledo is the ancient capital of Spain. El Greco made it famous in his some of his paintings, especially the one called The View of Toledo, and it's also famous for the massive cathedral that's in town as well, along with that other building then popping up on the right-hand side called the Alcazar as well. A Moorish Spain, as you know, from 711 to 1492 was occupied by North Africans, the Moors, the Muslim people, and the sultans there dominated the whole thing until the Reconquista you know what I mean, when they reconquered Spain. So it's a beautiful place. This is just a view of a portion of the largest cathedral, Catholic cathedral outside of St. Peter's in Rome. That's the organ. And again, I think we spent more time there than normal because we were together and we were all enjoying the audio guide and what to see in that cathedral. Look at that. Just amazing.
And that picture doesn't do it justice either.
No.
You know, that was so incredible.
Yeah, no photos do any justice, that's for sure.
That was one of those gems that you just didn't expect to find there, or I didn't.
Yeah. And you can very seldom find a shot of the whole cathedral. You never will. But this is the front facade and that's about all you can find because it is massive. It's about 4 football fields in length and about 1.5 wide. So it's pretty big. And then I remember for us, we found this hotel, which now the hotel that we found, we actually stay at from now on, but had this bar on the top. So we got these gazpacho and cheese board.
Yep.
And something else, fried cheese and a kebab. We stayed there a while because we had seen and done everything.
Right.
And
we waited through sunset. There you go.
There you go. And a beautiful sunset. So what do you think about those experiences? I have a knack, don't you think, of kind of finding those places to really chill out and enjoy the ambiance of everywhere we go?
Yeah, that rooftop was spectacular over the city. And you can tell just by that picture. I mean, it just kept getting prettier and prettier each, as we were kind of prepping for this and going through our pictures.
Yep.
It was like, wow, look at that picture. Look how pretty that is.
Right. And so we were one night there. And then from there, we headed directly south to probably one of the highlights, if not the highlight of this part of Spain, and that's Granada. But before we went there, we stopped by the Man of La Mancha territory.
Yep. In the land of La Mancha. That means the dry land taken from the Moorish roots. And we're right here with the windmills in a little village up on the hill in La Mancha named Consuegra. And here there are 13 or so restored windmills dating back as far as the middle of the 1500s. And these windmills were all used to grind the grain from the wheat fields that are all around here. We've been able to go in and tour one of them and see how the grain was processed and turned into flour. And these windmills that's right up here behind me just are a poignant view of La Mancha and how life used to be back in the century. Your adventure starts right here. So David McGuff is exploring your own.
Hey, I just reminded me that I see Jamie Veal on there. That's Jamie, my daughter. And she's on here as an advocate to handle any comments or questions that you submit. So if you have some, we'll answer all those at the end of the show, which is coming up pretty soon, by the way. So type them in, send them in, and she'll assemble those for us, and we'll take care of that at the very end. This is just, it's kind of like you're riding along and you say, well, we've got to go up on that hill and see these windmills. What did y'all think, Jim and Valerie, of this?
I thought it was incredible. The day was spectacular. The windmills were just like out of a picture that you all of a sudden were walking in.
It made me want to read Don Quixote again.
Yeah, exactly.
It was beautiful. It was quaint.
And I couldn't believe we were there.
Yeah.
We did luck into a good day. I think I took those photos that day. Yep.
Yeah. Spain was so far exceeded any expectation that I had. It was an amazing trip and just loved it from start to finish. I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Right. And so, speaking of that, this is the famous palace, Moorish palace of the Alhambra. down in Granada, which is the major attraction in Granada. It takes some doing to get in. And so we were there 2 nights in Granada and just had a great time there. Tell us about going into the palace of the Alhambra.
Well, I think we took so we took some transportation up there and then kind of walked in, but everywhere you turned, it was something different. It was just an incredible place. And they have the old side or the newer side, and then the very old part that we visited. It was a highlight. If I had to pick, something, I mean, just to see the architecture and the influence, it was incredible. Oh, that's the rooftop across from there.
Right.
That was Jim's birthday eve.
Oh,
We
yeah.
were celebrating.
We celebrated that night.
We certainly did.
Yeah. Again, another rooftop, not really a rooftop, but hilltop experience.
Right.
I happened upon back in the day and always try to make it work out for us to go up there. It's always impromptu. You can't make a reservation, but if you go at the right time and jockey around enough at tables, you get a good view like this at sunset. And then inside the Moorish Palace, as Valerie was talking about, at the Alhambra, you just can't believe it either. It's continued with these icons and lace work, just beautiful. You can't even describe it. It's so amazing. All these ornately done, hand carved, etched in clay tiles that are just beautiful all over the place.
Yeah,
And
the
then-
scope of that place is amazing with, just as you said, all the artwork, the rooms, the architecture. It's like something I've never seen anywhere, and I'm so glad to have experienced it.
Right.
Hey, David McGuffin here. We are still in Granada, and we are at the wonderful palace here called, as we say in English, the Alcazar. Alcazar. That's how it seems to be pronounced here. And this is the royal palace of the sultans. The gardens here, you can see maybe all over the place, water is a prominent theme. Here we are in the middle of the arid climate of central Spain, but yet water is the theme of the sultans, the Moorish kings and sultans who inhabited this place from 711 to 1492. This is the home of quite a few sultans throughout the ages, and then eventually the prince, eventually Charles V, or the Holy Roman Emperor Charles I of Spain, moved in here and took over after 1492 or so, middle 1500s, and built another palace here, Renaissance palace here, and so this is a look around the Alhambra. Is that what it's called? The Alhambra. This is another look around the Alhambra. I hope you enjoy this look around the Alhambra Palace here in Granada. It starts right here with David McGuffin exploring.
Hey, that's the fun thing about this is you get to see some unedited things, because early on I called it the Alcazar, which is not what it is. It's the Alhambra in Granada, the Alhambra in Granada. Some of the gardens, water features all over the place. We need to move on. And there's a wonderful cathedral there as well, with Ferdinand and Isabel inaugurated. They're buried there as well, but they're the ones who sent out Christopher Columbus. And that's down in the valley of the town of Granada.
We did. We went there.
And just some scenes from the downtown modern, let's say modern 300-year-old town of Granada as well. And for Granada, we go directly south through the Sierra Nevada mountains, and that is what it's called, Sierra Nevada mountains. And we end up on the coast, the Mediterranean coast, in a village called Nerja. It's just kind of a little vacation day If the weather's nice, you can go down on the beach and sunbathe, enjoy the water. But there's this grand promenade called the Balcony of Europe, going out there with these wonderful vistas of the whole town. And then the town stretches up the hill beyond you, behind you from the seaside with these with these ancient little streets and also lanes and restaurants galore. I think we had dinner right outside on the piazza, if I remember correct, right, Jim and Valerie?
Yep. Mhm,
Yeah.
we did, right there in the main square.
Yep. From there, the tour continues on to Arcos de la Frontera, which is in Andalusia. And from there, it's a small little town situated on a hillside. I think this is video. Yeah, it looks like it is. But there's no other place like this anywhere I've ever been. Not many people there. This old church, this isn't even the cathedral. This was affected by an earthquake about 2 centuries ago. But you could just see it's a rock outcropping over the fertile wheat fields of Andalusia. And that's a view from the valley on the right-hand side, and looks like us having me writing my journal there and getting sangria is prominent. Tell us about sangria. We had quite a bit of that, right?
We did. We stopped every day and got
you're
our
drinking it?
glass of sangria with our paper straw.
Yeah.
Some much fancier than others, but I don't think I'd ever had a sangria before this trip, and now we have it all the time.
Yeah. You know,
but it was
I
it
wish
was something we looked forward to every single
at the
day.
end of the day. Yeah. Sangria for me and gazpacho, the cold tomato and cucumber soup, are my favorites from Spain. 2 of my favorites there.
And each
I'd kind of
place
forgotten that.
made it a little different.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. There you guys are at breakfast one morning right there in Arcos.
Yeah, we were having breakfast there. It was so peaceful and nice.
Yep. That's a beautiful valley, beautiful valley. And from there, our tour continues on from Seville. We
Right off the hotel balcony.
Yeah, right on the hotel balcony.
Yeah,
And we
quite a
go up to Seville, and that's where our tour ends. And here's an example of the flamenco that we saw. I'm gonna call it quits at that point because I keep getting knocked off the Wi-Fi here. And but anyway, thank you, Jim and Valerie. Thank you, Terry,
You're
for
welcome.
being part of this tonight. It has been a wonderful experience recapping some of our tour adventures in Portugal and in Spain. 2 places that you guys, if you're watching and you're still tuned in, 2 places you need to put on your bucket list because they are totally amazing. I think Jim had already said it. He was blown away. Jim and Valerie both blown away by Spain. It's a highly place that is underrated, and it's just a place that you need to go that is so diverse and varied with culture and artwork and history and everything else. So with that said, tomorrow night we'll be on talking about France and our London, Paris, and Rome city tour. I hope you'll join us then. And so until then, thank you, Jim, Valerie, and Terry. Your adventure starts right here from Middleburg, Florida, with David McGuffin's Exploring Europe. Good night, everybody.
David.
Good night.